Hello, hope you're well. Today I wanted to touch on some of the transgenerational trends that are extant. They're alive and well, and they've been alive and well for generations now, for many eras now. It's the idea that um, you you view your own generation as being very forward and as the pioneers of the new culture, as the most the trendsetters, as being very forward, um, very chic in a way, and you view older generations as being kind of uh, tacky or gauche or whatever word you want to use, and you also feel the same way about newer generations. And I honestly, in my naivete as a Zoomer, technically, I uh, I thought that we would be different, and I think ultimately we are kind of guilty of the same things. Um, it's it's all too common to see uh, Zoomers and the like kind of bemoaning millennial and Gen X and of course boomers online as well as in person as well, kind of you know ridiculing their sense of humor, things of that nature. Uh, and we also do that with Gen Alpha. I thought we would have learned by now. We would have kind of caught on to the fact that it doesn't do favors to the newer generation to to spit on them while they're still growing, when there's just seedlings, right? But we have our we have our naysayers amongst us for sure, and there's that's been true for so long. I mean, what with the boomers to the millennials and the millennials to the Gen X and Gen X to the Zoomers, if I got that correctly. Um, every generation complaining about the future generations' lack of tenacity or grit or determination or focus or work ethic, or I guess in the Zoomers' case, um, we say that they're cooked, they're mentally cooked because of their um, iPad supposed iPad addictions. Um, and I hear this right across friends and fellow Zoomers, and I find it funny that we we're so confident. Our generation can often feel confident in those claims, uh, and yet not hold up a mirror and see how that's what that's what's happened uh, to our past generations. Um, Calling us entitled, calling the Gen X uh, having poor work ethic, or maybe criticizing millennials for uh, all the things that millennials are criticized for, both rightfully and not rightfully so. um, and of course, the boomers getting their fair share from the greatest generation back when they were still kicking it. But it's just a funny thing that no matter how, no matter how, I don't know, no matter how enlightened you think your generation is, which already sounds so pretentious, no matter how forward-thinking your generation might be, you're still going to fall for the same pitfalls that have happened, that are still happening and will happen. I'm sure that the Gen Alpha will ridicule and criticize Gen Beta when they roll around. I guess when my generation starts having kids in full force, or the tail end of my generation, the 13 to early 20-year-olds are starting, when they, grow another 10 years and have kids, that'll be Gen Beta, I presume. But yeah, that's just a funny thing that is, we can't escape it. It's kind of Hegelian. Yeah, the philosophy studiers, philosophy majors might get on me about this, but pardon my inaccuracy. But there's very much historical cyclicality, I guess, to generations, as well as the idea that your own generation is special, it's unique, and it's going to be different. That you and your timeline and your generation will be different and special is very that in and of itself is a pattern, right? Every generation thought it was the next big generation to make change, and I think there's some truth that every generation had progressed with a great deal of socio-economic, political, social, change of that nature. And so I think there is some truth to it, but there's also truth that every generation thinks they're special, and in reality we're still susceptible, we're still liable to the same indiscretions of youth, the same indiscretions of favoring our own generation, the same indiscretions of being egocentric in our 20s or whatever. And so it's just a funny observation that I wanted to draw on. I guess if I had to respond to it, it'd be maybe hopefully we can be a little more accommodating to the newer generations. I set this as like an invitation for all generations to as the initial stepping stone towards peaceable relations between generations, because ultimately we do care for each other, right? We are linked by families, by social groups, by work, and it doesn't do us any good to feud over some misplaced ego over why I don't know, why Starbucks is so much better back in the early 2000s than it is now, or some silly thing like that that I'm trying to make up here, some example. But yeah, it's something that I hope can change as Gen Alpha kind of comes onto the social stage and really makes their first appearances in schools and such. Hopefully we can address them with the same grace that we wished we had from past generations. Yeah. Well, hope you enjoyed, and yeah, think about it. It's interesting. Alrighty. Bye.